Good evening and welcome. It is 6 o'clock. It is the 25th day of October, and I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OGGM, with some more dungeon building random thoughts, whatever. There's the things that just come into my whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. Why do you listen to me? So as we've said before on several occasions, random tables are your best friend, Game Master. Doesn't matter what you're running, a few random tables make all the difference, because inevitably your players are going to go someplace or do something that you did not have planned or even expected in your wildest dreams. Like, going there, okay. And rather than winging it, a few random tables and a few rolls on a random tables make sure that even if they go someplace you didn't expect them, you're ready. And then when they get there, you're like, oh yeah, I totally expect you to come here, as you're rolling on random tables 3 seconds ahead of them to try and figure out what's there when they get there. Random tables are your best friend. And one of the best friends of that list of random tables is the Wandering Monster table. Now, Wandering Monster tables have been around as long as the game have been around. And if you look at some of the early incarnations of the Wandering Monster table, they don't make any sense whatsoever. As the hobby has evolved and progressed, they still really don't make any sense whatsoever. So, but they're important. They're important because a wandering encounter table makes wherever the player characters are feel lived in. Now, if they're in a dungeon, a wandering encounter table gives that dungeon a sense of it's alive, of it's a interactive environment, and not just a static dark ride that was waiting for the player characters to go through it. Wandering monsters and wandering encounters and wandering things give it, the sense that, oh, there's stuff going on down here, not just what's behind that door. I heard footsteps. I come to a passageway and I see something on the ground that gives me a hint that later on down the way, there's something moving around. Plus, if it's a dungeon that they might be going back to more than once, Wandering Monster tables give you things that are going to fill in the empty room. If they went in and killed everybody in room 3B, and then they leave and they come back a couple days later, well, room 3B is not going to remain unoccupied. Sooner or later, something's going to come along and go, ooh. Now, obviously, there's a finite number of Wandering Monsters, which is why sometimes you'll see on Wandering Monsters tables the number total that are available, and if you're really lucky in a really well-developed Wandering Monster table, where they came from. So you'll see, you have a total of 33 orcs, and some of the orcs are in room 3B, some of the orcs hang out in 7A, some of the orcs hang here, but once those 33 orcs are gone, they're gone. You have to restock the Wandering Monster table with something else, or just erase that line and move it up if this is not the kind of place that can be restocked. Like a mega dungeon, if 33 orcs are wiped out, well, eventually you can restock that with something else. But, a static dungeon, a one-and-done dungeon, or a two-and-done dungeon, well, then there's only a finite number of monsters. But it's still important to have a Wandering Monster table, because the Wandering Monster table, again, gives the sense that, oh, there's stuff moving around in here. There's stuff going on. There's an economy. There's an ecology. This monster exists because this monster is their symbiosis and stuff like that. But you want the Wandering Monster table to make sense, hopefully. Like, in a massive graveyard like Burrow Maze, running into wandering zombies and wandering skeletons and wandering ghouls makes total sense, because Burrow Maze is a massive graveyard, so of course you're going to run the undead. On the other hand, running into Vikings and ninjas probably doesn't make sense. Or World War II soldiers. So you want the Wandering Monster to fit the environment. And the older Wandering Monster tables often didn't. You would find just things like 33 barbarians and a demon. And you're like, in a rat-infested cellar, what's on the Wandering Monster table? So the rat-infested cellar has 33 barbarians in it. I don't know how they got there, but whatever. So you want the Wandering Monster table to fit the theme of wherever it is they are, whether it be a city, a countryside, a dungeon, whatever. I mean, and it doesn't have to just be monsters. You can throw in a few other things, again, to give the sense that wherever they are is living and growing and changing. Like you could have monster special effect, monster. So it could be, and that special effect could be like random collapse or random noises, or something that they encounter that maybe leads them on a different direction than that you need them to go. So it doesn't have to always just be monster, a table with 6 monsters that you roll on every time something's going on. You could throw in a few flavor things to spice some things up, like, a cave-in or stuff like that, or strange noises, strange smells, something to make them suspicious, something to make them paranoid, something to make them think that there's something going on, even if there's nothing going on. The sound of gears shifting and stuff, just anything. It does. So, yeah, the Wandering Monster is a very important table because it gives the sense of living. The Wandering Monster table, Wandering Encounter table, because they're in this town, it's not going to all be monsters, should make sense to the environment. I mean, not always. You can be crazy if you want to. That is your prerogative as a DM. But again, why are there a bunch of World War II soldiers on this haunted Viking pirate ship in the middle of a desert surrounded by vampire cows? Yeah, this Wandering Monster table doesn't make any sense. So you want it to make sense. But it's very important. Wandering Monster table, Wandering Encounter tables, a few other random tables just to, give, like, spice up the room, spice up the area, come up with a few quick NPCs. And it's such an important tool for you to have, because it makes wherever the players are feel alive, feel like what they're doing has an effect. If I clear out all the orcs, there's no more orcs, but what's going to take their place? And it feels just living and growing and changing. You're walking down the hallway, you get to an intersection, you see maybe some scratch marks and some blood marks, because you, the DM, has rolled that there's a wandering monster, and it's a few rooms ahead of them dragging some encounter, or they come into droppings, or, whatever. It just gives that sense of, ooh, there's something going to happen, as opposed to just, kick open the door, kill the monster, take its stuff, whatever. So there's just a little late night DM thinking. Think about it. Next time you're designing an adventure, come up with a few random monsters, a few random things. Doesn't have to always be monsters. A few random sounds, a few random special effects, a few random descriptions, a few random things. So if the players go off, or if you need to fill some dead space, or if you need to explain why this dungeon is important and why there's things going on, your random tables are your friend. I'm your grumpy guide to all things gaming, and if you appreciate this content, comment down below. If you don't appreciate this content and want me to shut the fuck up, comment down below. Please take a moment to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and help me hit 500 subs by the end of the year, and I'll do something insane. And if you're feeling the holiday spirit, perhaps consider supporting me. I'm your grumpy guide. I will talk to you losers later.